Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of Schmidt List Live. I'm Kurt Schmidt, your host, president and partner at Foundry, and today's show is meant to inspire and educate leaders in digital like yourself. And I'm really excited today because I've got a good friend of mine, Stacey, joining us. We're going to talk about all things brand, and what a great year to talk about the importance of brand and branding. I want to introduce Stacey and have her tell us a bit more about her and the work she does over at CBX. Stacey, how are you today?
I'm great, Kurt. Thanks so much for having me on today. As Kurt mentioned, my name's Stacy Hintermeister, and I'm VP of Marketing at CBX. And if you haven't heard of CBX, CBX is actually a designed and brand strategy agency, and we have a pretty simple mission. We create brands that connect. And what that really means is we work with our clients to unpack their business problems and create solutions that help those brands connect in the world. And this is a more important than ever year for us to get out there and have those brands working really hard for us. Certainly, what CBX creates, like we specialize in innovation. We're a design firm. So we do a lot of work in those types of areas that really help our clients, bring products to market, do a lot of new product development at CBX also.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love the work that you do. It's really inspiring because for myself, the whole idea of being able to be a part of just a quality brand and what that experience means to folks, right? So I can give a personal example, like our company Foundry. We're not the biggest company in the metro area or the country by any means, but we did really focus on creating a strong brand, but also to be able to just keep it top of mind with folks. And I think that this year, having a strong brand is one thing, but being able to stay top of mind with folks throughout the year because of how busy we are. Do you find that also to be the case, Stacey? Is that, yeah, you can have this great brand, but if you don't know how to, use it, you're gonna. As I tell my 80-year-old mother, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Well, and staying relevant today is more important
Yeah.
than ever. And as the dynamics are changing in the marketplace, being relevant has changed for a lot of brands out there. They've had to shift during this very strange time for all of us, from like building their brand and creating new news to like getting their products on the shelf, working out supply chain issues. They're just, what we're hearing from our clients and our partners is that it's just changed the way that everyone works.
Yep.
And so they've had to find new ways to be, kind of top of mind with consumers. The advent of e-commerce has changed the way a lot of our clients go to market. People have access to information, and it's so quick and so turnkey for everybody now. It's just really, really changed. And if anything, what it's taught us is that you've just got to stay nimble, be on the top of your game, and just make sure that you are always a step ahead, which sometimes is a little challenging.
It is challenging. And plus this year alone, because we've had so many, things that have happened this year. We had the murder of George Floyd. We had the election. I mean, we had all these things and I saw so many brands being so tone deaf this year. It's been amazing. So in your opinion, Stacey, like if I want to stay that one step ahead, when I don't know what's going to happen around the corner, what are good ways to do that? What are good exercises to do that? Like how should I be thinking to stay that one step ahead?
So at CBX, we have a tool that we use, and we look through a lens of people, culture, and brand. And what that really allows you to do is to tap into insights in the marketplace, whether that be through the people that purchase your products or that interact with you, or it is the category dynamics. What are the things that are going on in the marketplace, the competitive space, or it really could be cultural impacts, like what are the trends out there that are influencing people today? And we have found that by looking through that lens, it really does help you understand where your strong equities are in your brand. Those are, and really protecting and growing those equities today is more important than ever.
Mm.
And then where are those liabilities? And Kurt, the liabilities thing is where people sometimes falter. And that's where you've seen a lot of brands over the past 6 months really have to pick up some pieces because they've had to minimize the liabilities that they might have due to the changing cultural trends and impact of the marketplace. And so what we do at CBX is really help uncover all of those things and really make priorities for our clients so that we can rebuild the brand to really make an impact in the marketplace.
Yeah, and so it's got to be, to your point, it's got to be a holistic approach, right? It can't just be from one angle, right? And so,
Yeah.
going into the new year, Stacy, what should a lot of these brands be thinking about? I mean, let's say, again, I'm listening to this show. Maybe I'm a small, mid-sized company. I don't,
Mhm.
I don't go against, these large corporations, but I'm trying to stay more focused on the local markets. What are some ideas or things that you've been thinking about lately, Stacy, that you might give that advice you might give to those folks?
Well, we work with small clients and we work with larger clients. So at CBX, we do really do kind of cover that gamut. And what I'm telling people is a lot of folks are starting to look at their portfolios differently now, both in the way they organize those portfolios and the way that the brand comes to life through the architecture of the portfolio. And those are some complicated things because consumers actually don't see architecture. That is something you internally have to do, and that is something that you have to align your products for the most impact,
Yep.
both through at shelf or online. And so, what we're seeing is a lot of people are taking a hard look at those at their portfolio and rationalizing things. They're starting to break it apart. They're starting to innovate again. And innovation is so hot right now. As it, we just can't move fast enough, can we, Kurt? Like,
No, 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 no. Moving at the
I'm
speed of business, as the commercial says. Um,
I know, and everyone wants to act like a startup these
oh
days,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yep, yep,
And they want to be agile and nimble, and so we're hearing a ton of that from small and large clients. and
yeah,
and what we've tried to do at CBX is create some tools that we can use to help clients be a little bit more like a startup, no matter their size.
yeah. And I see that it's the natural progression of some of these larger organizations. I've seen it happen time and time again, where innovation gets trampled, and people wonder why. Oh, this company used to be so innovative, and now they're not. And the common idea and the common thing that happens is these silos that appear inside these organizations. Marketing starts to become a silo, sales becomes a silo, the manufacturing becomes a silo, and it's natural because you want those people to be really good at what they're good at and not be bothered by all the other things that are going on around them. But what we're seeing today in the last few years, and just in the work that we do with companies like US Bank and these others, is that they're trying really hard to break down those silos in a way to bring ideas from across the organization together. So to your point, that agile mindset is so important and key to creating that innovation to happen, because it doesn't happen in a silo, right?
Right. And we're seeing that too in CPG clients, our
Right.
service clients, our healthcare clients. Everybody wants to hop on the agile bandwagon, and what we have really tried to do at CBX is combine the best practices of agile. And there are a handful of us who are Scrum Master trained, and so we are very familiar with agile and how it works, and we've applied those principles to design thinking. And by bringing those best of both worlds, it really has changed the way we work.
Yeah.
And it has created this environment that allows us to break down those silos, like you mentioned, and work cross functionally and pivot on demand, which
Yep.
that just makes teams much more empowered.
Yeah. And the marketing side has been hard to make the agile because again, again, this is just my experience, is that the publishing calendar kind of rules the day, the content calendar and those types of things. It makes it hard to be more agile when you've got to make these 3 posts in the next week, or launch these 3 campaigns, or these types of things. And if you pull the rug out from underneath these folks, they're going to feel as if they're not doing their job. But to your point, how should I be looking at my publishing calendar for 2021? What should I be thinking about in terms of that content? Should I be following it rigorously? Like, how do you balance that?
We take an approach that really does use a combination of being planful and also having that ability to pivot. Because what we have found is being timely and topical is really most important right now, being able to be relevant and connect to your customers, no matter who they are. And so that ability to connect more strongly at times makes you actually get more traction with your content. And that's what everybody is looking for. But you're absolutely right. People are exhausted by working in real time all the time.
Right. Yeah. It's very exhausting. It's tiring.
Yeah, it really is. But it's so important because that's how you gain authenticity with your customers. And that is really, really important. And so we just can't underscore that enough, is making sure that what you're creating, what you're developing, and what you're bringing to market is relevant to consumers.
Yeah.
And that's why we use those design thinking principles as well. Like the ability to get out and get consumer empathy and understand where your consumers are is something that's super important.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, Stacey, is that I find, because of the typical processes that these organizations have, it makes it hard to work in the way that you're talking about, and to be able to be ultra responsive, because typically when we're going to post this thing, it has to be viewed by 5 different people and signed in triplicate before it can go on Instagram, or in a Facebook advertising campaign. So how do I break that down and be able to respond more in real time? Is it just organizational structure? Is it tools? What's the case? I don't. Tell me more.
Well, what we're seeing is that we try to work in what I'm going to call more of a collaborative fashion. And a lot of times what we're doing at CBX is we're working in Miro or Mural. Those are kind of the 2 whiteboard spaces, and we collaborate in real time with our clients. And that has really been a helpful way for us to kind of keep on top of things and make sure that we are getting alignment in real time and applying those agile principles, Kurt, that I talked about.
Yeah.
You just can't underscore the importance of that.
Yep. Yep. Your dog's very excited about the brand stuff. I can hear it.
She has been quiet all morning, but apparently super excited to talk to you, Kurt.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel honored that I get to interview not 1 but 2 of the Hintermeister crew. So the thing for me is just that in where I've found success, and again, I don't want to make this just an advertisement for CBX, but bringing in a partner like yourself really has helped us, and in other organizations, sort of get out of our own way in some cases. Do you find that to be the case? Is that, yeah, you can do so much internally, but sometimes you really need that outside perspective, those people that are not so, just ingrained in the day-to-day stuff that you're doing and have fresh ideas.
Right. And we have the luxury too, because we work across so many different categories and types of businesses, right, that we can share those ideas across the businesses. We are in constant contact with consumers. So we are always kind of on the cutting edge of like what people's sentiments are and what they're thinking. And that, I think, does help clients kind of think about things a little bit differently. And again, just making sure that we stay on top of getting into those ways of working to stay in touch with consumers, get those insights, get beyond your gut instinct. And people's gut instincts are very powerful, but we can't underestimate, even just quick little touch bases is
Yeah.
something that is so helpful
Yeah.
to
That
make
data is
sure
super
that,
important.
yes, absolutely.
Yep.
And, we do a lot of work sessions and we use a lot of collaborative techniques to help our clients do things like prioritize their innovation pipeline, for example.
Okay.
Or maybe they have a category that they want to get into and they really aren't sure. They don't know much about it. And so we might be able to break down emerging trends, look at different consumer need states, understand where the marketplace is going, and tap into some innovation territories that might help us create some ideas that spur a whole different way of thinking and might drive a campaign or drive their product development.
And so does the platform matter for that too? I mean, tone is really important as we talked about this year. So, when I'm putting those things on a social media platform like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
TikTok, whatever, um, versus, maybe the more traditional press release or a
Yeah.
segment on Care 11 or things like that. I mean, how do you balance that tone? You back to what you were saying, using your gut, like, well, obviously this makes sense, but is it going back to that data and understanding that audience? Because if I want to send the same message, but I need to send it across all these different platforms, I mean, what should I be
Mhm.
thinking about when I'm doing that?
So that's where some of that brand culture people analysis comes in. And what we like to do is we break down the category codes and semiotic cues. And what those are, it's a big fancy word that just means that there are these codes and cues that exist in the world that the human brain automatically associates with certain products or day parts or the way that a consumer looks at the world. And so understanding and having that ability to break that down actually helps us create a design story that can speak directly to those consumers more effectively. And so a lot of times what we say is we have to decode the category so that we can actually recode it for your brand to come to life in that category.
Mm,
And certainly one of the best ways we can do that is through packaging. And, packaging is something that CBX does a lot of. It is
yep.
one of our foundational deliveries. And we love packaging because packaging lives on the shelves of consumers and it lives in their homes as opposed to an advertisement that kind of is a fleeting
Right.
message.
Right. It's there.
Um,
It's there in your house, calling to you all the time. Right.
Yeah. And so for me, understanding that importance of how packaging actually works with consumers and that how they visually identify both, with either brands or logos or identity, and how like color is such an important piece of branding and how so many consumers shop by color. How they make decisions online actually is really impacted on color. And so we tend to use tools like that to help us break down and really come to market with a visual design language and actually a brand personality and tone and voice. And the other thing that CBX says is, brand foundation work is a lot of what we do. And understanding either a purpose or a position and how the brand wants to come to life in the marketplace is something that everybody is just working so hard to do these days.
Yeah.
And what we do is we say personality is just one step, but behavior, brand behavior, how the brand actually acts in the world, how it talks, how it behaves, how it brings products to market, and how it looks from a design point of view
Yeah.
is really how you earn those personality traits. And that's the difference that makes the difference.
Yeah. I think
And
it's
being able
really
to
important to
take that
define that, right?
foundation. Yes. Well, it's hard, and I think that the interesting thing is like making that foundation and breaking it into actionable things is quite a gift and an
Yeah.
art. And that is where a lot of brands fall apart, frankly, is they have a beautiful brand foundation and they may have wonderful personality traits or a great tone of voice, but they're not consistent and they're
Hmm.
not sure how to make that brand on a page actionable at every touch point, whether that's through digital channels or advertising, PR, social, or your packaging.
Or packaging. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Just in the last few years, I mean, you see these YouTube channels with millions of subscribers and millions of views, and all they do is just unbox things. um, and so, if
Mhm.
anybody wanted to understand why that's so important these days when it comes to packaging, I mean, you can just watch one of these videos and watch them tear apart bad packaging. Um, but companies like Apple are so well known for their beautiful packaging and the way that they work, and a lot of companies aspire to those types of things. You know, there's such a difference in the way that um, people experience a product these days than I would say, 10, 20 years ago. You just kind of were like, yeah, WD-40, it's done. I don't need it. I don't need a brand around it, right? Even though, a company like that, where you transcend brand and become the category, right? Like Kleenex, right? Or, um, I could think of a bunch of other ones, but where the brand becomes the product, right? And one thing that I learned many years ago is that the product is the experience, right? So if the packaging and the tone and everything isn't around that, that's where you're losing a lot of opportunity.
Right. And I think that that's how a lot of us are starting to view the world, is everything is a consumer experience.
Yep.
And really understanding how to bring those experiences to life is so important. And I would just say that when we embark like on a journey with someone, we really try to find what I call mission clarity at the very beginning of a project. And that mission clarity really, really helps you understand what kind of experience you're going to be bringing to life. And having that clear roadmap and understanding what business challenge you're actually solving helps you determine how you're going to create the experience down the road. And it also gives you almost a blueprint to come back to ongoing, so that you can continue to match up against where you are today and where you're going and how you've delivered against that. And if you start to, deter or go down what I call a bunny trail, getting off the path, then it also gives you that ability to get back on track. And what we find is like that's really important these days too. That ability to stay focused and disciplined and have that clarity up front. Make sure that as you develop the experience throughout, you're going to be more consistent, more thorough, more thoughtful, more strategic, and ultimately what you deliver will tie better end to end.
Yeah, and I would give that advice to people to remember not to stay in your silo, right? So if there's anybody in UX that's watching this, for example, you should really understand the end product. You should really understand what it takes to make it as good as it can be. Excuse me. Um, but or if you're the person that's manufacturing the things that go in the packaging, and having an understanding globally of these things. And that's why I think it's important that we break down these silos in these organizations so these people can learn from each other. That's what's going to make us more agile. That's what's going to make a better product. And to your point, Stacy, a better consumer experience in the end, which is what we all want, right?
Right. And I think you're absolutely right, Kurt. And what we have found is putting a cross-functional team together helps us innovate so much faster and actually develop brands from the ground up. And having the ability for us at CBX to work with our client partners and be part of the team right alongside them, help facilitate work sessions to make progress and use those agile principles. We can't say enough how that can change the dynamic of how we're all working today. And, it limits the second guessing when everyone is in the room together. There is, we use those tools like thumbs up or thumbs down or fist of five so that we make sure that we're aligned before we leave the meeting. And that kind of keeps the team from having the meeting after the meeting, which is, something I always say everyone hates, right? Like you always hate, oh, there was the meeting that happened after the meeting, and that is where we made this decision. And so
Yep.
we're really starting to do that kind of thing more and more because that helps us work more effectively, helps us parallel path work streams, helps us understand where there's codependencies between different departments and different areas of the work. And actually the outcomes are just so much better.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, Stacey, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned so much, and I appreciate the work that you do. If I want to know more about you, Stacey, and the work you do over at CBX, where is a great place for me to go?
You can reach out to us at cbx.com, or you can always shoot me an email at shintermeister@cbx.com. It's been a pleasure, Kurt. Thanks so much for having me on here. It's an important time, I think,
Yeah,
for all of us as we are closing out the year and we're thinking about next year. And there's just so many opportunities.
there's so many.
And we are, ready to get re-energized and come back and hit the new year at full speed, because we know that our clients are going to need help. Um, and we're all going to be in it together, and we're going to use everything in our collective power to make our clients successful in 2021.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't agree more. I'm really excited for the new year and looking forward to what it brings, and looking forward to keep an eye on what you and CBX do.
Yeah, you stay in touch, because I think we could come up with some great things together, Kurt.
Yeah, I believe that. Cool. Well, thanks, Stacey. I'm going to jump off here real quick and say thanks for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you liked it, hit the thumbs up button, because that's a good button to hit. And if you haven't subscribed, you got to do that. And then there's other things you can do, but whatever. Thank you for taking the time to join me. I'm so excited for the new year. There's going to be a lot of new show and new content coming. And if there's things that you want us to be talking about, make sure you leave a comment, shoot me an email, kurt@foundrymakes.com. More than happy to chat with you. So thanks for taking the time. Have a fantastic holiday, and I will talk to you soon.